Yo, what's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about what to look for when you're going to buy a used car. With a new car, I can't tell you much because the only thing they're going to try to do is screw you over on the price. But for a used car, I can tell you what to look for with the body and the parts and all that. But I'm not going to be going over any of the price because I don't know anything about that. They can deal with the price. I can talk them down from the body work or what I see wrong with the car. But with the price, I don't have any dealership experience, so I don't know what to do there. So look for another video for that one, but I can tell you what to look for on the body and with the car specifically. So the first thing you're gonna wanna look for when looking for a new used car, new to you used car though, is if there's any scratches or dents on the car, like long scratches along the body or multiple dents like up towards the front or up in the back, and I'll tell you about why in a minute. But look for any scratches or dents. That's sometimes an indication that it could have been an accident, or like, you know, just look at it as what's your cost going to have to be to fix this, and then try to negotiate from there. If there's only scratches and dents wrong with it, you know, try to negotiate a little bit. You know, that's just cosmetic damage. Can't do much about it. Another thing is if you're buying from a person, if you're usually buying from a dealership, they're usually good about this. They don't normally bring in a whole lot of cars with Bondo work. But if you're buying from like just a private party, person to person, definitely look out for Bondo work. Like, you don't want excessive Bondo on your car, because you'll be driving down the road and next thing you know, half your car falls off. You go over some railroad tracks and half your car's laying on the road behind you. So just stay away from excessive Bondo work. Trust me, you don't want to deal with it. Another thing is rust, especially if you're up north. If you're in the south, or where it doesn't get cold and they don't cake the road with salt, still look out for rust. Look underneath the car. Make sure there's not a whole lot of rust underneath. If you're towards the beach, of course, you got salt in the air. You live by the beach, salt water. There's gonna be a little rust. Just, you know, check it over and make sure it's not completely rusted to the point where something's gonna fall off, or it looks good on the top side, but once you look underneath, shit's so rusted it's crazy. Stay away from super rusted cars that are rusted underneath. You don't know what's about to go bad from rust, or is so thin you could just poke your finger through it. You know, stay away from that unless you are 100% sure that the rust is not a problem. I'd walk away. Next thing is working lights. So make sure your headlights work, your tail lights, your brake lights, your blinkers. Make sure your four-ways work, and make sure your high beam headlights work. If all those work, you have no problem. If some of them are out, try to negotiate on that, or if you can have them fix that before you get the car, that's even better, because then you don't have to go through the hassle of trying to fix it yourself. So just look out for that. Another thing is, if you're able to see them through the rims that they have on the car, try to look at the brake pads, see how far down they are. We usually measure in millimeters, so like a 2 millimeters, 4 millimeters, 6 millimeters, 8 millimeters, 10, 12, and so on and so forth. It only really goes up to 12 because that's like brand new. But look at the brake pads. If they're looking thin, just mention them. Try to get them to lower the price, because people just say, hey, you know, I'm gonna have to replace these within a couple months. You know, you guys didn't replace them, lower it for me, because I'm gonna have to replace them. Another thing is, because also with the whole brake pad things, is don't think about it as just the brake pads, because when you replace brake pads, you normally want to replace rotors. So think of it as you have to replace those brake pads and the rotors, and then you could even possibly throw in the caliper might be locked up. Just throw that at them. Be like, I might have to even replace that whole caliper. So boom, there's like $100, $200 knocked off the price easy. So if the check engine light's on, don't be afraid to ask. about why the check engine light's on. That's pretty, because usually the person trying to sell it to you either knows about it and they're trying to avoid it, or they just don't know about it. So just ask. Just be like, hey, why is this on? Like, what is the reason this is on for? And normally they'll be able to tell you. If they can't tell you, just be like, hey, just say, hey, you know, I want to take this for a test drive. Drive down to the nearest auto parts store and get a code. Get the codes read for you, and they'll tell you exactly what's wrong with it, just so you know before you go and buy it. Another thing is, if it's a salvage title, you do not want a salvage titled car. It's just going to be your headache in the long run. No one's going to really want to buy it. The insurance is going to be high because it's a salvage titled car, and it's pretty hard to get your car from salvage. I mean, from yeah, from salvage to just a clean, not a clean title, but you know, out of the point where you just don't want a salvage title car. Just don't get a salvage title car. Trust me, just don't get a salvage title car. All right, just don't do it. Okay, so another thing you can look out for is if the car needs an alignment. So how you're going to look out for this is by checking the front wheels. You're going to go up to the front tires and just check if they have worn, if they wear too much on the edge of the tire, like the inside edge and the outside edge. If it looks a little chopped up, or run your hand across it, and if it's not smooth and you feel like dips when you're running your hand up, or like mountains type of, I don't know, hills or dips, you know, in the tire, make sure to mention that you're probably going to have to get it aligned too, because it needs an alignment. If the tires are wearing too much on the edge, you probably need an alignment, and you're going to need it checked anyway, so mention that. Also, another thing dealerships and other smaller shops will do is they will take the front tires once they get the car in and move them to the back, because they're just chopping on the edge too much. Well, we call it cupping on the edge. It's just edge wear. So they'll move them to the back. So it's basically like you have a fresh tire up front. So just check the back tires too, just in case they did that, so you're safe and you know what you're doing. Because that's another $50-$60 dropped off your price depending on where you get your alignment at. I was gonna say something about earlier about the brakes, but I completely forget now. If the Tpms light's on, make sure to mention that. Just say, hey, like, can you check the tires? Like, because Tpms light's on, it's the air pressure in your tires. It's tire pressure monitoring system. That's what TPMS stands for. But if that light, it's usually a light that has parentheses around it and an exclamation mark in the middle, and it just stays on. So if that light's on, just make sure you mention that. If it needs a new sensor, make sure to look up how much your sensor costs, because some sensors can be pretty pricey. Some sensors can run up to like $300 per sensor. So just make sure you look out for that. The sensor in my car that I just got costs $40, so there's $40 knocked off the price. And then if yours is even more, then that's even more knocked off the price. But make sure to look out for that. Also, make sure to ask if it's been in any accidents, because you're gonna want to make sure you know about that. That's what I'm talking about with scratches and dents, because if it's in an accident, you want to know about that before you have the car, just so you know if it's going to have any problems along the way. Because some body shops and places can actually fix up the car pretty decent to where it looks perfectly fine until, 2 weeks into having the car, something goes wrong with the engine because it was in a wreck like 4 months ago. So just make sure you ask. Also, when you're looking underneath the hood of the car, when you are looking at it, obviously, because you're going to want to look at it and test drive it, make sure it runs right. But look underneath the hood, look at the brackets. If any of them are bent out of shape, ask about it, because that's usually a good sign that it's been in an accident. Just make sure you look underneath the car at the oil pan. If the oil pan is dented or anything like that, make sure to ask about it. Basically, if there's anything that you see that doesn't quite look right, ask about it. Trust me, it's better in the long run if you just ask about it, because the the price will just drop. The price would drop. And if you're getting it from a dealership, used cars, they normally knock off about 1,000, 1,500 off the price that's on the car, like the sticker price. They knock off a couple thousand off that. I think mine was going for 10,000 and we got them down to 5,900. So just things to look out for. Also, the only thing I'll mention with the price is if you already have a car and you're looking to get a new car, but you've already paid, because in South Carolina we pay a vehicle tax. We don't go through an inspection or anything like that. We just pay a vehicle tax, and then that's all you pay for your car for the state within the year. And then a thing you can do with if you're getting a new car and you're getting rid of your old car is just transferring the license plate. And that's just simply saying, hey, like I have an older car, I want to transfer the license plate to a new car. And it's usually like a $25 fee. If you don't do that, it's going to be like a $55, $60 fee to put a plate on the car. So just warning you, that's a quick way to save $30, $40, $50. I mean, it's not a whole lot you're saving, but still, that's money saved. You know, a little bit can add up over time. And if the car has any of these problems, trust me, you'll get it way cheaper than what you thought you were going to get it for. If this video was helpful in any way, make sure to leave a like, maybe subscribe. I do try to do I've been doing car videos. I do pretty much any video that I'm feeling like doing. My channel's not based around, one specific genre. It's just whatever I feel like doing at the time, and lately it's been about cars. Before it was gaming, now it's been about cars. So if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you. Peace.